All right. Good morning. This is Coach Big Pete of DeepDishFootball.com. Make sure you follow Coach Big Pete and Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Um, Time for a new conference. A lot of teams moved from the Interstate 8 to the Illinois Central 8 Conference. Central 8 Conference. Hopefully, I did not get that wrong. I most likely did. I probably did. But the Illinois Central 8 Conference. Um, Sandwich and Plano stayed in the I-8 or the new Interstate 8. They didn't stay. They moved to the new Interstate 8. This is the Illinois Central 8. Most of the Interstate 8 teams have moved on to this conference. So, make sure you follow Coach Big Pete, Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My email is coachbigpete@fp@gmail.com. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you like my work, feel free to leave a tip via PayPal, link on the bottom. Now, let's get started. To me, right now, there are three big dogs in this team in this conference. Wilmington. Wilmington will always be good. I don't think that's much of a surprise to anybody. Coal City. Coal City is looking great. They're looking great in the 4A. I really do think that team could upset IC, no doubt about it. And the third team I have is my top dog team is Herscher. I like the group of athletes that they have, Taylor and Jones, and the big offensive lineman that they have. I will go through again. My two surprise teams, Peotone. I think Peotone is going to surprise some teams this year. Very impressed with the players that they have now. I know last year there was going to be some troubles, but I don't think that was much of a secret. I think this is a good year for Peotone football. Also, besides Peotone football, I'm going to say this, and I've said this numerous times as a surprise team. I'm still waiting, but I have Streator. I think Streeter's going to have a good year this year. Hopefully, have a good year this year. Riley McCurdy, they got a nice little bit of a running game too. I think they're going to have a good year this year in Streator. Wilmington, good first two games. Oak Lawn, I'm forgetting, it's Oak Lawn and Evergreen Park. I think those could be trap games. I think those two teams are going in thinking that they can beat Wilmington, and I think they haven't been able. I think Wilmington will be able to handle them. Again, discipline football will always win, and I think Wilmington has it. Lyle, on the other hand, they lose a lot of talented players, so I definitely would say keep an eye out for Aiden Lombardo, quarterback from for the Lyle Lions. Definitely a player that you want to keep an eye out for, as I talked about. Reed Custer, I think Reed Custer is going to have a little bit of a tough year, but again, first two wins. If they get those two wins, definitely a team to keep an eye out for. Mantino, Davey Wooster, running back, another kid you want to keep an eye out for. If Mantino can get a hold on that passing game, again, like I say this to everyone about my conference predictions and previews. What is up is down the year after, or what is down is up the year after. Predictions, previews, reviews, they mean absolutely crap. You have to play the game. And in the Interstate 8, and I know I call this the Interstate 8, I'm sorry, I do apologize, the Central 8 Illinois Conference, whatever it's called. These teams, we've seen upsets before. And there's going to be one surprise team where people did not see coming. And these teams, there's going to be one of them. Last year was a little bit okay. Got Coal City right. But Coal City, I have as my top dog. Crawford, Perilla, linebacker. They got another little DB too as well. Coal City's looking good. Coal City, to me, is a state challenger. I think Coal City, this is going to be a special year. Now we get into Wilmington, we get into the 3A. Wilmington is a challenger for state, no doubt about it. Especially if you're looking for if they get into those playoffs, you don't want to play against Wilmington in the cold. Simple as that. I've seen it numerous times where teams have thought that they could beat Wilmington, and they couldn't. Wilmington's basically a tough nails team, and they're a bunch of shit kickers. Simple as that. And Wilmington could be very scary. Now, as we get into Wilmington, talked about Lyle, talked about Mantino, talked about Peotone, Herscher. Again, you can't bet against Herschel without Wetzel as the head coach. Herscher, to me, good running game, always good passing game. Again, if they find their niche within 3 weeks, watch out for Herscher. That's another team to keep an eye out for as well. I really like that Taylor Jones kid out of Herscher. So definitely a team that you want to keep an eye out for as well. Um, so hopefully I don't get this wrong. Sorry about that. Looking over my notes. Coal City, huge game. First game is against Morris. That's a big game. Second game, they have Bishop Mac, Coal City. Those are two very important games. Got a great chance of going 2-0. Morris is going to be tough. Morris is not a weak team from last year. Morris football is back, no doubt about it. Looking forward to Coal City. That's right. Coal City Wilmington game, which is a smart game. Play on week 8. That's going to be a big game. You could almost say it's sort of a little bit of a championship game if Herscher has nothing to say about it. Again, Coal City is looking great this year. This is Coal City's year, no doubt about it. Going to the team. He's a Cooper. I forgot about talking about him. And I'm forgetting one other person, Peyton Hutchings. I keep forgetting Peyton Hutchings. I keep forgetting he graduated, but he didn't. Again, huge playmaker. You have basically 6 top players in that conference. You could say play at Coal City right now. That's serious damage for a good team like that. And the Kohlers, like I said, I'm going to say this again. This is their year, and if they get into the playoffs, watch out. And they have a good chance. And I'm going to say this again. They have a great chance of upsetting IC. They really do. But we'll see what happens if they get IC or they get Rochester or whatever. Again, previewing going into the future and everything, season, things will happen. But this is a team to watch out for. And I said 2 teams in Interstate 8, them, Wilmington, you can also put Herscher, but I like Wilmington and Coal City are going to challenge for a state title game, no doubt about it. All right. There's a couple players out of Wilmington that I like, but I'm going to go for Trey Shaw, definitely could you keep an eye out for. Who's the other kid that I'm looking at? Trey Shaw. Hopefully I didn't get that. Hopefully I didn't get it wrong. Connor. He's Connor. I'm trying. Yeah, Trey Shaw is definitely a player to keep an eye out for Wilmington. Again, good offensive line, good solid offensive line. I think Jaron Allen was one of them too, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully it's one of them. Hopefully I got this correct. Yeah, Jaron Allen is another player to keep an eye out for as well at Wilmington. Again, Wilmington will have two or three players that merge onto the scene every time for a football season, and that's what's going to happen. There's going to be 2 or 3 names where people don't know their names. They're going to burst onto the scene, and that's always happened with Wilmington football every season. All right. Sorry about that. Just trying to get into my notes. Now, Peotone, I talked about Peotone a little bit. Good offensive line so far. Size is going to be a little bit of an issue. But again, I think Peotone can be a surprise team from not last year, but 2 years ago where they made the playoffs. I do think that they have the right players in the key spots to get the job done. The 2 games that they're going to have a little bit of a tough thing against Tinley Park and the other team that they got in the first 2 games. But if they can win those games, watch out. And when I talk about it's good to see that they're playing Tinley Park not at the middle of the season, not the end of the season, but the beginning of the season, is because these teams aren't used to that type of play of Peotone, that running style of play of Peotone. It's going to be tough for Tinley Park to guard. And to tell a kid, and I talk about this numerous times, to guard against that type of defense, to stay in his zone basically, it's going to be tough for Tinley Park. And Peotone's got a great chance of getting 2-0. So we'll see what happens. But again, definitely another team that you got to keep an eye out for in Peotone football. I'm forgetting one other kid. There's another kid. I'm trying to find his last name. So if I do, I'll put it up on Twitter. But yeah, I really have a lot of faith in Peotone. And again, size of the team doesn't matter, especially in this small school football. If Coach Tolley, and Coach Tolley's a hell of a coach, if Coach Tolley gets those kids ready and excited for those first weeks, again, they could be a team to be reckoned with. Basically, most in this game, especially that type of offense that they run, if the players believe in that offense, if the players believe in that coach, coordinators, and they listen, and they stay, and they're patient. I know it's a broad term, but this is the simple thing about football. If you're patient, especially when you run the ball mostly 60, 70% of the time, guess what? Or 80% of the time, this is that type of team and what they need. And Peotone is my surprise team. Streator is another team that I talked about. Riley McCurdy, Coach Hazlitt, he does a wonderful job with that team. This is going to be a big year for Streator. Definitely a year to prove everyone wrong. And I really do have Streator as my surprise team. Now, let's get into Reed Custer. Reed Custer, I don't know about. Reed Custer is just it's a weird team to me, to be perfectly blunt. Are there some players that I like? Yeah. But they've got a nice tall wide receiver. Again, and I talk about Wilmington, and I talk about Peotone, and I talk about those heavy run oriented offenses and everything. If Reed Custer can put together 2 wins early in the season, week 4, they could definitely be a team to be reckoned with. Again, I say this numerous times. Did they lose some players? I think they lost Loomis. Loomis graduated. I think Harrison graduated as well. That's going to be tough on them. But Reed Custer, I think it's going to be a tough season for Reed Custer football. But look towards the future next year. It's very positive for Reed Custer football. Right? Lisle football, as I talked about numerous times, Lisle football, it's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie about it. It's going to be a tough one for Lisle football. A couple of their key players have set to do basketball and everything else. Aiden Lombardo is the bright spot of the Lisle football team. Definitely a bright spot. They lose a McGrath. He went up north, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be a tough season for Lisle. That's all I can say. I wish it was better, but if Parpet basically can do something with those kids, he can shock some teams. First 2 games, if they can get to a 5-4 record into the playoffs, more power to them. But again, it's just a little bit too tough with Lisle this season after a perfect season last season. But we'll see what happens. Again, it's up in the air. Predictions are up in the air. Anything can happen. Again, if they're literally, I think the key for Lisle will be their passing attack and what Aiden Lombardo can do against those secondaries. If his completions are over 60, get into that 70 range with Lisle, even a little bit more. Yeah, watch out for the Lisle Lions if that happens, but it's going to be tough. All right, let's get into Herscher, last one. And Herscher, again, I've learned a long time ago, you don't bet against Herscher, you don't bet against Wilmington. And Herscher's one of them. You don't bet against Herscher. Simple as that. That's what I literally have learned. Cody Zugen Bueller is the big man that I'm talking about. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Definitely that you want to keep an eye out for this upcoming season. He's definitely a big name to keep an eye out for as he merges onto the recruiting trail this fall. Definitely a name, small school name to keep an eye out for. Where's the other guy I'm looking for? Marco Contreras. Marco Contreras is another kid that you want to keep an eye out for as well. Hopefully you got that correct. Hopefully I did. And there's one more player that I talked about, Taylor Jones. Taylor Jones is an unbelievable, talented kid. Definitely a player to keep an eye for. Good group of running backs as always. Again, it's the difference between the luxury of Herscher football is get a little bit more into the passing game or a little more into the running game, depending on what the personnel is on that team. Coach Wetzel does a wonderful job. So that is about it. Good luck to everyone. Hopefully, I can do a deep dish football game of the week for the Central State 8. I can't. That's just weird to me to say it. But it should be an interesting conference. Again, like I said, Coal City, this is their year. Wilmington's got a great shot. So does Herscher. Surprise teams, Streator, hopefully. Besides Streator, forget another team that I mentioned. It's got Peotone. Peotone, I think Coach Tully, they're going to do something as well. Tough year for Mantino. Keep an eye out for Davey Worcester. I think that's going to be more of a progress year for Mantino. But again, they can prove people wrong. Get the two big first wins, and then they can go on winning and get that 5-4 record and get into the playoffs or 6-3 record to fully clinch a playoff spot. I hate to say playoff spot, but it should be interesting. Make sure you follow Coach Big Pete and Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. My email is coachbigpetefp@gmail.com if you have any questions. And it was fun covering Interstate 8. This is my last year doing coverage for Deep Dish Football. Last year's Publisher 6 for Deep Dish Football. It was a fun time. Thank you for talking with all the coaches and everything else. I had a lot of fun, especially coaching against these teams. Opened up my eyes more to small school football. But again, it was an honor to cover you guys. Hopefully I can get to a game this year. And thank you so much.